Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Pixel Ship podcast. Today is March 11th, 2014, and I am joined by Joel Hartlaub,
Heyo.
Ryan Blandy,
Hello!
and Neil is our special guest yet again.
Greetings.
All right, so as always, we're going to start out talking about what we've been playing this week. So, Joel, what have you been up to this week?
I dabbled in some Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines over the weekend, which is always a blast.
So
And,
that's the RPG. I never really got into the game too much.
it's based off of a tabletop RPG.
I remember it kind of being like Deus Ex.
Kinda. I mean, it's
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's a fairly decent comparison.
so
Actually,
if you
now
like
that-
Deus Ex.
yeah, that's actually a pretty darn good comparison. Now that I think about it, to some extent. But yeah, I mean, it's just you explore the areas that you're dropped into, and there's a couple different ways to do certain things, and it's yeah, pretty comparable to that. Now that I think about it,
Is it as kind of linear? I mean, it's unfair to say Deus Ex is linear, but it kind of pushes you along a very specific story path. Is it kind of the same, or is it a bit more open? Like, how do you?
it's definitely not a sandbox game. It's more along the lines of you having to follow a certain, like, you'll have your main quest or whatever, your main mission, and then all these little side missions will start popping up that you don't necessarily have to do, but they also help you out along the way. So,
There's
you pretty
different
much-
factions.
yeah, I mean, you're pretty much dropped into one area at a time, though. I mean, you gradually unlock more as you go forward, but, like, when you start off, you got access to one specific area of Los Angeles, and you can't really go anywhere else until you finish your job there.
Has it aged well? Graphically and kind of
They
gameplay
actually-
wise.
I think last month they put, like, there's a bunch of unofficial patches,
Mhm.
and they actually do a really nice job of updating a lot of the textures and resolutions. So without those patches, no, it doesn't age very well. It looks pretty bad on the in a newer setup. But once you get those patches hooked up, it actually looks pretty decent. I'll be honest, the combat is terrible.
Yeah, but so is Deus Ex.
Yeah, but Deus Ex was more gun based. I mean, this has guns in it, but if you try to do anything like not gun based, it's awful.
Mostly melee.
It's not mostly melee. Like I said, I guess you're kind of limited with what you have access to early on. Like you can get a gun fairly easily, but ammo wise and whatnot, you're always limited. And even that is still a little clunky. It's just not the combat itself is not very good. And they have like stealth stuff that you can do, and that's kind of tricky sometimes too. It's got that old, like, I'm trying to do too much sort of thing. It's going on sometimes, but I don't know. I play it more for the atmosphere and the story and like the characters than anything else.
Have you been playing anything else, or?
I was playing the South Park game, Stick of Truth.
Sorry,
South
like
Park
that.
game!
Let me just put it this way. I want to write a review about it, and I'm only going to put 4 words in it. Go fucking buy it. That's
That's
I
not
told
a very helpful review, other than telling people to spend their money, though. So this is kind of my thing. I've been playing a little bit too, but I wanted to know. I asked this of Ryan the other week, but I want to know without all the South Park stuff, because it's kind of a divisive television show. It's something you either kind of grew up with and love, or like that kind of humor, or you just think it's kind of juvenile and silly. Do you think the game holds up, in your opinion, as a game, or do you think it kind of leans very heavily on the source material?
That's kind of a tough question. I think the gameplay itself is decent. Like it's nothing groundbreaking. Um, it's nothing that like super extraordinary, but it's a good playing game. And even for an Obsidian title, I think I've ran into one glitch the entire time, which is freaking hilarious for them.
They don't have a fantastic track record.
That's a big step up for them. Let's just put it that way.
Agree.
And don't get me wrong, like I'm a big fan of Obsidian games for the most part. They just always put out a very buggy product.
I think this is a much more simple engine than they're used to. You know, there's
That's
no.
true too. I mean, their forte has been sandbox, or they basically take a BioWare game and they take the guts of it and make a new game out of it. But this game, the gameplay is good. It's not anything, spectacular. Would I pay $60 for it if I didn't like South Park? Probably not.
Yeah,
Would I
that's kind of how I felt too.
Would I recommend it to somebody who I know doesn't like South Park? No. But if you do like South Park and you like RPGs, and then yeah, I would 100% recommend it.
Even if you don't like RPGs,
I don't know.
It's still good for the masses.
I don't know. I disagree. I think you have to like. I feel like you have to like RPGs to be able to, because the combat is not like super. Like it's got like the little the timing thing here and there.
Yeah, from
But-
Super Mario RPG.
Yeah,
Even that-
it's very Paper Mario-esque or
Right.
Super Mario RPG.
I just don't feel like that's enough. If you already don't like turn-based RPGs, like I don't know. I can't see you really wanting to play this game that much.
See,
you
but
know.
I think that the RPG is, maybe it's unfair to say watered down, but it is simple enough where I think that is not prohibitive to people who generally don't like RPGs. I think the reason it was addressed the way it was is because, I mean, South Park has a pretty wide-reaching audience, and no one's going to play an 80-hour, JRPG style South Park game. It's a very
Well,
small
also-
portion of their audience would.
It'd be very hard to write for that too.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's the way they did it needed to happen. Because think about this. They try to make an action game where it looks like South Park. No. It's not going to work. You're just going to get, people throwing snowballs at each other N64 style.
Yeah, I think their only other option would have been an adventure game, like maybe even something, Walking Dead style. I think that would have been feasible, but
That would have been feasible, sure.
but very difficult because there's no drama, there's no real conflict. It's like fart on guy's head, like.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Wrong. It's very RPG light, but I don't know. I still think there isn't I don't know. If you're like a heavy action gamer and you can't get into like that kind of slower paced sort of game, you're not gonna really.
I equate it to Simpsons Hit and Run. So,
Well.
Simpsons Hit and Run is a, very good, competent kind of GTA-esque video game. Not as open world, obviously, but it leans very heavily on the humor and your appreciation for the source material and little references here and there. I think, as just another GTA clone, yeah, it's not the best and probably wouldn't be the most interesting, but the writing really holds it up, and your love for the source material really holds it up. That's the, and I don't think Hit and Run is by any means a bad game. It's probably my favorite Simpsons game. But South Park to me is the exact same thing. It is, a serviceable game, a, very basic game that is very, very entertaining because of the quality of writing and the quality of the source material. But there's nothing in those games stripped out of the story that would make me play that game for more than 30 minutes, and I surely wouldn't pay $60 for a game like that if the writing wasn't the caliber that it was.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't. The game wouldn't be worth $60 if it weren't so well done. The way, I spent a lot of time laughing, particularly in certain spots. I don't want to give any spoilers away or anything like that, but
No, I mean it's most lovingly referred to as, a 15-hour episode, and I think
Yeah.
that's dead on. It's, there's a little bit of filler, but very consistently there is a joke, somewhere in there. Whether it's, self-referential or, referencing video games or D&D or something like that. I think they do a really, really good job.
Really, it just made me want to go watch South Park.
I would make the argument, though, that it's not worth $60 even now. I was fortunate enough to get it on sale because PC games go on sale almost immediately nowadays. I ended up paying like $45 for it, and I think that was a fair price, but I feel like a $60 game in this day and age has to have a lot of legs. I can't see myself going back and playing that game over and over and over. Like, I'll probably revisit it down the road just because I'm like, that scene was really funny, or, I wanted to try playing a different character or something like that. But I'm not, and mind you, I'm not super far in, but I'm not getting any kind of replay value or anything goes, next time I'll do it this way, like a Deus Ex or something like that, where it's like, there's a lot of incentive, to replay this game.
There's a couple spots where I definitely would.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see myself going back and playing it again. Maybe not right away, but definitely.
But comparing that to other $60 games out there, like your Demon Souls, like these, very large grand scales, games that, have some sort of competent multiplayer or something like that, do you think it's reasonable to charge the exact same price just because they can?
Well, come on. Just because they can? Of course they can. Come on.
Not to say they won't, but
people
at
are buying it.
People are, yeah. But, a game like Saints Row, right? That didn't sell super great when it first came out, Saints Row 3. And it wasn't until, they started dropping the price and word started getting around that it started getting more legs. Like, I feel like PC games kind of have this, weight mentality. I feel like there's not a lot of incentive to adopt PC games because the price is going to go down. There's almost an expectation in the age of Steam. And there's not a lot of games I'll pay $60 for. Like I said, the only reason I bought South Park is because I was able to get it on discount right away. I probably wouldn't have picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean,
it's got to get pretty cheap before I pick it up.
But then what's your argument if you're saying it's worth the $60? What makes a game worth $60 to you?
the amount of enjoyment I get out of it.
Agreed.
That's like, if I buy a game and I get $60 worth of fun out of it, that's all I need to know. I mean, I could buy a $10 game and not get nearly $10 worth of fun out of it and be pissed. But I'll buy a $60 game and, it might not be that long, like, it's 15 hours maybe?
I think that's decent for this day and age, though.
Right.
In the age of 8 to 10 hour games, I think that's acceptable length.
Okay, so like, if we're going to get a 15-hour game for $60 and I get 15 hours, $60 worth of fun out of it, I'm okay with it. But then, like, you're comparing that, let's look at something like Call of Duty where you play a campaign for like 4 hours.
Well, that's not fair. Fuck Call of Duty.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like,
I don't think anyone here is going to defend Call of Duty.
If they're, I'm okay with. I would rather see South Park get the South Park game be sold for $60 a pop when it's something fresh and new and pretty well done, as opposed to something that's just rehashed every couple of years and just glossed over.
But then you have games like Cave Story, which are probably equal length, and those games are like $10. That's probably easily a 15-hour game. There's tons of writing. I think it's a very compelling game. It doesn't have a big studio behind it. It doesn't have a lot of expense and, licensing and writing. And look, I understand it's a big property and they're going to get as much money as they can from it. But I think the expectation is changing. Spending $60 for a single-player experience, especially on the PC, I think is getting more and more difficult to justify.
Totally agreed. Yeah, there's just so much out there now. So much that you can spend so much less money and derive the same amount of enjoyment from. So if you're a fiscal gamer, if you're somebody that doesn't want to spend a lot of money, it's not necessary for you.
But I think it is nice that, especially if you're a PC gamer, like those games go on sale pretty quickly. And don't get me wrong. I paid $45, and would I have been upset if I spent $60 on South Park and thought I got ripped off? Probably not. I probably would have been totally fine with the caliber of games that I've spent $60 on before and been horribly disappointed with. I just find it interesting that a totally single player experience, one that doesn't really have a ton of retail or replay value, can start out at $60, and I don't know. It seems like it's asking a lot. We have a lot of faith in Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They kind of stood behind this game 100%, and that kind of was enough for most people to go like, okay, well, they've been involved in this entire thing. It's not just a money grab. They actually kind of gave a shit about this. But less and less, I feel compelled to throw down $60. But
Agreed.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very rare that I do. This was one exception. I think I've bought three $60 games in the past year.
And I think it helps that a lot of, your friends and everything, we've all been kind of talking about this and saying, yeah, you know what, it is a pretty great game, and, we're all having a really good time, and, you should play it because we kind of want to talk about stuff. Like, I think that goes a very long way, too, to inform your game buying decisions. But, all right. Well, you've been playing anything else other than the South Park and the Vampire?
Not really.
All right. How about you, Blandy? What have you been up to?
When I could, I was playing South Park, and then of course some Team Fortress, while I watched my shows.
So you
yeah.
actually finished South Park. We're not going to get into any
Yes.
spoiler territory, but kind of jumping in on the conversation we just kind of wrapped up. Do you see yourself kind of playing it again? Like once you finish it, do you think you'll jump back into it, or are you going to kind of let it sit a while, or do you think you're completely done with it?
Well, I did everything.
Okay. So
I
you
had
did all
like
the side
40
quests.
hours of gameplay on it.
How much?
30 to 40.
Oh,
at
wow.
least.
That's pretty impressive. So if you
I
squeeze
did everything.
every ounce of content out, you're looking at about 30 hours.
Yeah,
I think that's respectable.
it was good.
But do you think you're going to go back to it, or are you pretty much just going to bury it?
For now, since I did everything, I'm just going to wait if I ever play it again.
Do you ever go back to games that you've completed? Like how
of
often
course.
do you? Okay.
But it's really so rare when I can finish a game.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm just really happy that I could finish it.
See, I'm the same way. It takes a good game for me to actually sit down and play the whole way through.
Yeah.
And
Well, when you have a ton of Steam games and a ton of console games, it's just kind of sensory overloaded in this day and age to kind of say, okay, well, what do I want to play today? What do I want to,
well, I mean, I'm talking going way back too. Like, I rarely beat the games that I own,
Mhm.
but this is one that I probably will sit down and finish.
Well, there are a lot of different components to that. Like sometimes games are just straight up too hard, and you're like, I can't pass that part. I've done it 50 times. I'm not going to do it again.
like
Well,
old
that-
school
that
Nintendo
was Al Gore.
games?
That was Al Gore.
That was Al Gore, but
Fair
I
enough.
did it.
But yeah,
Hardest
no,
boss in the
I
game.
agree, Neil. I think that there are some games that kind of the frustration sets in, and older games don't really let you change levels on the fly. I feel like modern games do kind of cater to that. A lot of them let you say, if you're having trouble, you can bump it down to easy.
Right.
Do you think you would ever do that, or are you the kind of person who'd rather just stop playing the game if you hit a wall?
Me personally?
Yeah, like have you ever adjusted a game kind of midway through? I know I have. I've gotten to a point in a couple of games where it's like, I just want to get through this. I think I did it once in The Last of Us where I just kind of kept running up against the same wall. I'm like, look, if I just drop the difficulty down, I can get through this part and put it back up to normal or whatever it was. But
Yeah, I do. I've done it before, but I usually don't try to do it for too long. The games that I really get intensely into, I mean, the difficulty isn't changeable usually.
Mhm.
I don't know. Survival horror, I guess, is kind of changeable on the fly, but
But I think that is part of those games. Well, maybe not frustration, but the, repeated punishing gameplay.
oh, definitely, yeah, yeah.
What do you mean,
So-
like Dark Souls, Ryan? Is that what you're referring to with that one?
I mean, that's not really survival horror, but yes, that is a game that just rubs your face in the dirt repeatedly. Any game where it's, the guys in the beginning of the game pose just as much threat as some of the later guys is, well, Dark Souls is for another day. We'll talk about that. But what have you been playing, Neil? What have you been getting up to?
What have I been playing? Some kind of smaller games, like we were talking about, the $10 games. Like I spent some time on Horde.
Okay, what's Horde?
You're a dragon.
You
play
are a dragon.
Yes, yeah, and you burn
Horde
all the
gold.
villagers in the thatched roof cottages. It's pretty
Is it
It's a pretty
funny? Is it
simplistic game.
realistic? What kind of game is it?
no, it's neither. It's not funny. It's not extraordinarily realistic.
Huh?
It's pretty simplistic. You're just a dragon. You fly around, and carts spawn from villages, and you try to burn these carts and take the gold and take it back to your horde.
What's that game where you're the overlord? Is it just called Overlord? Where you're like the
Called
evil guy?
Overlord, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it that kind of gameplay where it's like you are the evil guy and you kind of have to become the best evil guy that you can be?
Sort of, but it you load a map and it's a single scenario situation kind of thing.
Okay.
Just trying to do your best on each scenario. I don't know. It's entertaining for me, but I don't think it would be that entertaining for that many people.
Is it like a roguelike? Is it every time you die you kind of start over and everything changes a little bit, or is it?
No, I mean you have a cumulative score.
Okay. So there's
but-
levels and you're
Right.
kind of playing the
Right.
same character over and over. Interesting. Yeah, I actually haven't heard of that.
And then I played Bit Trip Runner. A lot of
Bit Trip Runner is a great game.
It's phenomenal. It really is such a simple game and so hard and so easy and so good. I don't know. I can't sing that game's praises enough.
That is the epitome of those. Oh, I just have to try it one more time,
Right.
and then an hour and a half goes by. You're like, I've been on the same goddamn level, but it's not the bad frustrating. For some reason, whether it's the music, whether it's like you said, the simplistic gameplay, it just kind of keeps driving you. Like, come on, you can do it. You were so close last time, man. You're almost
It
there.
absolutely has a lot to do with the music. I mean, when you hit those, I don't know, they look almost like health signs, but that
There's
give
no
you
health.
another some more depth to the music. I mean, I don't know, it's rewarding in a way that other games fail to be.
Yes, absolutely. Are you playing the first one or the second one?
I was playing both.
Okay. I've only really played the first one a lot. I haven't gotten too much into the second one.
The second one adds checkpoints, which I mean obviously is way better for you playing, but also that sense of accomplishment is a little diminished when you do finish one. Just seems like it goes a lot faster in the beginning. And what else would be different? The music is different. The graphics are definitely, I wouldn't say better. I mean, they're improved, but
I really like the style of 2. I think
Right.
visually it is hand over fist a better game.
Yeah, but one has this kind of this quirky, just awesomeness to it too. But two legitimately looks good. It's a good looking game. One is not necessarily a good looking game, but has a feel that I gravitate towards. So yeah, that and what else? I was playing one more thing. Fallen Enchantress. I started playing that.
Which one's that?
It's kind of similar to the games that I was playing last week.
Oh, okay. Turn-based.
Turn-based, right? You've got a hero or something. You build towns. It's more. I don't know. It was more highly rated than the other ones that I played, but I don't think I've figured the game out yet. I'll get there eventually. I'm not doing very well now. And it's
About
just
how many
like,
hours do you have into it?
only like 1 or 2.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
cracked the code yet.
Yeah, those games have a bit more of a curve. Those are
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hour
yeah.
4 or 5. You're like, oh, I should have been doing that the entire time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, I played a small amount of Silent Hill.
Original?
No, Homecoming.
Is that a new one? Is that a remake? I have lost track of the Silent Hill games.
It's probably like 3 years old, I guess. Ryan, how old would you say Homecoming is?
Homecoming. 2006, 7?
All right, so it's 7 years
8?
old.
So, PS3, Xbox?
Xbox, yeah, 360 is what I was playing it on. It's a good game. I mean, they're all good games. I really, short of
What about the one for the Wii? Did you play that one?
no, I'm not gonna touch that. You just
What?
have a
That's
flash.
a good one.
I
You just
heard
have a
that one.
flashlight, right?
You
Yeah.
have a flashlight and flares, and you gotta run. It's more like Clock Tower.
2008 was Silent Hill Homecoming. What did you say?
He said 2007.
2006, 7.
Yeah, pretty darn close.
Pretty close. So I played that. That's not really a new game, but yeah,
Oh,
it's entertaining for me.
Blandy,
And especially, there is something to be said about like playing games on new technology. Like, I don't know, old games on my TV just look phenomenal. it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It upscales them, I guess. That's it. That's it for me.
Blandy, I don't know how you can tell that Silent Hill's a good game. I didn't think you actually played any of them.
He just watches me.
Yeah,
when I-
aren't Silent
That's
Hill
what I mean.
difficult games? I don't remember them being a walk in the
Neil
park.
have a way of playing the games. He plays the game, and I instruct him on how to play the game while reading the walkthrough. So he's in the driver's seat, but I'm navigating.
Pretty true. It's pretty.
That's how we
accurate.
play scary games that I can't play.
We've been doing it for probably
Years.
almost 15 years.
He wants to experience
do
the
it.
game, but doesn't actually want to play. I want to see you guys play Amnesia. I want to see Ryan backseat driving you guys play Amnesia. That is something I would definitely be interested
No,
in.
he'd get frustrated, man. He played Outlast. He was not happy with it. I don't think he'd like Amnesia.
All right, well, we'll see. All right,
Yeah,
well,
Outlast I just didn't like. It didn't have enough creepiness to it, and it didn't have enough anything to it. There was no meat to the game.
I think Amnesia definitely has a lot of atmosphere and a lot of
Yeah.
tension. I think it does a really good job. I haven't finished it. It creeped me out too much to finish. And I
That's
can't say that
interesting.
about a lot of video games. All right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, this week I haven't played too much new stuff. Obviously, I'm playing South Park as well. I think everyone's pretty much, noodling around with that game. But I also picked up Bionic Commando for the NES, which is a game I never really played when I was younger. And I just have to say, I really like Bionic Commando for the NES. I know I'm not the, new to the party. Like, everyone generally kind of enjoys that game, but it seems to have a lot more depth than other Nintendo games. Just the fact that you can't jump, that kind of grappling hook dynamic. It's kind of a generic Contra-ish shooter, side scroller. There's a little bit of top down in it, but I don't know. It just seems a very mature Nintendo game, where a lot of games kind of felt like, this is just, a gimmick, and get from point A to point B. I thought it was. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a game I'm going to keep going back to and attempt to finish. we talk about games that are too hard to finish. Nintendo games, I think, traditionally are exactly that hard. Limited lives and game overs and what have you.
There was a lot of that in the 8-bit and 16-bit era.
And that was an age where you had to get the most bang for your buck. You were still paying $60, and the games, playing to completion are no longer than an hour at most to actually play through and finish. So they had to be difficult, artificially or
I
otherwise.
still don't think I've ever beaten a Sonic game. And I had.
I've beaten Sonic 2.
I know.
No?
I always get to the Metropolis zone, and it's that 3-level zone, and I can make it to the boss, and I never have enough lives to beat the boss, and then I get frustrated and just quit.
No,
And that's like what, the third to last level? Something
I've
like
had
that.
many a late nights as a child with friends playing Sonic 2 until parents come and actually unplug the television. I've definitely got through that. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of games you don't end up finishing as a kid, and there's a few handful that actually stand out in your mind, like the original Zelda. You're like, yeah, I remember finishing that. Like, you remember exactly where you were, kind of when you finally put that game to bed.
Right, but that's kind of my point. Like, that's not a hugely skill-intensive game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time-intensive game.
Yeah, and I think most of it is memorizing levels and kind of getting patterns down and kind of knowing what's on the other side of a door. Like, I think a lot of games were like that because they didn't have a lot of options, those games didn't have a lot of depth just due to sheer memory.
Right. But the games, like, I don't know. The games that I didn't beat vastly outweigh the games that I did. And the ones that I did are the games like Zelda, the games like Pokemon, the games that just aren't overly difficult, just time intensive.
Yeah, I mean, I've never beaten a Mega Man just because it's essentially a puzzle game. It is memorizing the line in which to follow,
Mm-hmm.
And I just never put the time in.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I have been playing Picross 3D. That is also not a new game. That was for the Nintendo DS. I picked it up kind of on the cheap at a game store. And I always liked the Picross games. I don't know if you guys have ever played them.
Nope.
I've never heard of it. I don't.
Nope.
Okay, well, basically you're given a grid, and you're given numbers on, the X and Y axis saying that, okay, there's 2 on the Y-axis and 3 on the X-axis, and you're trying to make these pictures by filling in the grid, and they're just kind of crossword puzzle, kind of Sudoku, but you're drawing pictures. I'm almost certain it was originally a Nintendo property for the Game Boy, I think. And they're just really good, interesting puzzle games. They always have like a metric crap ton of levels, so it's a good kind of sitting on the couch, just kind of fiddling around with your DS puzzle game. But the Picross 3D, adds a Z dimension, so you're kind of rotating these cubes and kind of chipping away at them to reveal, a puppy dog or a cup of tea or something like that. And I just really like them. I like puzzle games a lot, and I think the Picross series is one of my favorites. If you're a fan of crossword puzzles or Sudokus or kind of those kind of slow, methodical, okay, well, if this thing is here, then this thing can't be here kind of mentality, just kind of marking things. It's almost a little bit like Minesweeper, where the numbers...
That's what I was thinking of when you were describing it.
Yeah, kind of inform where your next move should be. You kind of mark things that you don't want to remove or do want to remove and things like that. I just love those games, and I found Picross 3D kind of super cheap and kind of jumped at the opportunity and kind of spent the last couple of hours chipping away at that game. That to me epitomizes the, I'm sitting on a train going into the city or, on a long car ride with friends or something, kind of sitting in the back of a car. I can play that game for hours and just kind of zone out. It's very relaxing to it. It's not a stressful puzzle game like a Portal or any the new first-person shooter ones that are kind of in your face. This is the equivalent of a Sunday morning crossword puzzle where I'm gonna have a cup of coffee and I'm gonna kind of chip away at these blocks and see what kind of animals underneath.
See, I've never really been into puzzle games, and I'll be honest. I don't even really like Tetris.
Oh, blasphemy!
I just can't get into it. There's something mind numbing. Like I can get into mind numbing stuff, but for some reason, puzzle games there's something mind numbing, and if I want to sit down and play a video game, I need something more than a couple of blocks moving around on a screen.
Well, they're not exciting.
No,
Like,
never.
I mean,
And I don't like puzzle games that are exciting. Like I said, there's a handful of them out there that are, with the exception of Portal, like that kind of try to, get you down to the buzzer, like the really short periods of time. Maybe Henry Hatsworth. I don't know if you guys ever played that. That was probably the best kind of action puzzle game I've played in a while, where you're kind of frantically looking at the top screen, which is the side scroller, and then the bottom screen, which is a puzzle you're trying to solve to get power ups and stuff like that. That might be more your speed, actually, Joel.
I don't know. I just
Look up Henry Hatsworth. You might like that.
I played Portal a little bit too, but it was cool and all, but it's not something I can't just sit down and play through a game like that. Like my idea of a sitting on the train kind of game was like Metroid Fusion, like a game that I can play, advance a little bit, but not have to dedicate too much time to. I don't know, just there's just something about puzzle games that I never really could get into, but.
I'll try to find some, and I'll try to find some good ones. I'll get you in a couple puzzle games.
I have Portal 2. Haven't played
Portal
it
2
yet.
is in a league of its own. You have not played Portal 2 yet?
Nope.
I haven't even played Portal 1.
All right, I'm gonna end this podcast right now. That is unacceptable. You need to play Portal 2. That is one of my all-time favorite games. Did you even fire it up? Did you even try it?
I have 1 minute of played time in it.
Oh, that breaks my heart, Joel.
I think that was an accident, actually.
My heart actually physically hurts right now to know that you have not played Portal 2.
Well, honestly, I'm going to say something about another game that you guys were crazy about, and I never got it. Antichamber? Like, honestly, every time that I would look at gameplay from that, it honestly, I thought that it would be painful to play. That's just what it looked like.
I understand people who don't like Antichamber. There was parts of Antichamber that drove me nuts. It is a bang your head against the wall puzzle game. It makes absolutely no sense sometimes. There have been puzzles I solved by accident. I would say by no means it is the greatest first-person puzzle game. I would say it's a very good first-person puzzle game. I think the appeal of Antichamber was the nature of that world, to not be bound by room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, solve the puzzle, move on. The way it approached puzzles was very interesting and refreshing, but unbelievably frustrating in parts, to the point of you couldn't use logic to solve. At least I had to look up some solutions because I just could not find a rational way to solve it.
Well, I mean, once you found out the solutions, did it make sense? Or was it still like, well, I guess that's what it is?
There was one puzzle in particular that I remember just solving, literally going 5 seconds into the video, doing it on my other screen, 5 seconds of the video. I think that only happened once, though. Everything else kind of made sense, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I should have done that, or I should have paid attention to that thing. But it was a frustrating game. I'm not gonna act like it wasn't.
Yeah,
I think the fact that it was so unique was the appeal. And if puzzle games are your jam, a game like that comes along, you're like, yeah, no one has ever done anything even close to that, so I have to play it. Novelty is an unfair word, but there was a lot of novelty to that game.
See, I prefer puzzles to be intermixed with other gameplay. Like,
so Zelda, you like Zelda?
Like a Zelda game, even like the Metroid Prime games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in there too.
Hey man, I'm not saying you're wrong. I completely understand those kind of games aren't your cup of tea. I, however, find it completely unacceptable that you have not played Portal 2. And I'm going to be really, really upset if you have not even played it for an hour next time we talk. That is going to be your homework assignment if I have to drive up to find you and sit in the same room and make you play it. So be it. But that is definitely one of my favorite games of all time. It is the equivalent to you saying that you have never played Super Mario 3, in my opinion.
What? All right.
Have you? I love that game. Everything about that is fantastic. I will get up on a soapbox and evangelize for Portal 2.
I mean, I respect that Stephen Merchant does a voice in it. I mean, that's kind
He's
of cool.
hilarious. He doesn't just do a voice. He is hilarious.
Hey, how about this? I will play Portal 2 when you play Saints Row 4.
Yeah, but that requires me to buy another game.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll tell you what. You can look through my Steam library and you can choose any game on there, and I will play that.
I'm gonna choose the worst piece of crap game.
I am willing to put myself over the coals and play fucking Barbie's Dream House or whatever other horrible bullshit
Hello
I may
Kitty
have
Island
on my...
Adventure.
Yeah, even if you find a free-to-play game that is complete and utter shit,
Barbie
I will
Dream
put in
House.
hour for hour
You.
what you put into Portal 2.
You understand that it's homework in itself just to look through your Steam library.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
That is obscene.
Yeah, it's those humble bundles, man. Like, they're like, oh, here's 20 games and just donate some money to charity. I'm like, fine, just take my goddamn money. I have half of these.
Yeah.
And then the Steam sales where they're like, yeah, these games are like $2. I'm like, oh, I can spend $2. And then, like, week 2 rolls around and I've already bought like 20 games. But I've also had that Steam account since Half-Life 2 came out. Like, that has been a 8-year, 9-year collection of games. And I
Yeah.
definitely have more games on my shelf that are physical than I do in my Steam library.
I should make you play something like super frustrating, like VVVVVV.
Oh god, I do love VVVVV, but god damn it is that game frustrating.
If you're gonna put hours into a video game, Joel, make him play QWOP.
Oh god, if I have to play, if you like end up playing through Portal and I have to end up putting like 8 hours into QWOP, I might actually kill myself.
Oh man.
All right, so we'll talk about this offline, but we're gonna get you to at least play through Portal.
Demo!
All right. Well, I think that's everything. We can move on to news. Does anyone have any news kind of that came up in the last week?
Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft is now actually out of beta, so...
So is that the collectible card game?
Yeah, hey Neil and Ryan, you remember when we played the World of Warcraft trading card game that one time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they dumped it down and made it online only now. Like, the game's no longer, printed.
Is it the same cards, the same gameplay?
Nah, it's similar. It's definitely very different than what it was. The way that, like, your resources increase, it's 1 per turn, so everybody starts with 1. Like, there's no randomness to the way you gain your resources. On turn 10, you both are gonna have 10 mana. But like, they changed that. They simplified some of the cards. They changed some of the terms that they use. But overall, it's pretty similar.
Have you been playing it a good deal, or is this just something you've had an eye on?
Not anytime recently, but I did see that they actually... I have put time into it, and it's fun, and it is free. Free to play.
Oh, it's free? Do you
It's
buy
free to
booster
play.
packs or?
You can buy booster packs, and you can... They have what is called the Arena, which is like a semi-drafting sort of format. However, and like all these things cost gold. Or you earn gold every day by completing these quests that come up. And you can earn enough to buy booster packs and to buy Arena. I think the only boost... You can only buy 1 booster pack at a time, which is 5 cards with gold. You can buy up to like 50 at a time with like real money. I forget how much it costs exactly. But the Arena is always available via gold. and you can win. Like the more wins you get, the more prizes you get, and I think you pretty much are guaranteed at least one booster pack in there as long as you win a game.
So that's what I heard. Like they do a really good job of balancing kind of the free to play aspect of it. I haven't done a lot of research, but the talk I've heard and the handful of articles that have come up, it seems like they do a good job of incentivizing you kind of just for playing, kind of getting in there. You're going to get cards if you hop on to a ranked match or whatever they call it. It seems Blizzard knows what the fuck they're doing. But it's nice to hear games where it's like, or like Dota is the same way, where, it's completely free to play, but if you want to pay a couple bucks here and there, like, you're just going to enjoy it more. It's not going to unbalance, and there's not kind of two tiers, the people who pay and the people who don't. I think I heard that even, like, I want to say, like, some of the people in the top 10 in the world, like, have never even spent money in the game.
I have no idea about any of that.
That may not be true, but
For Dota or for League of Legends?
no, for this
Or for-
Hearthstone.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which, if that is true, that is the best marketing they can use. They should be pushing that as, hey, look, man, like, this game is a lot of fun, and some of the best players don't have to spend money.
What's nice about it too is that it's animated, it's voiced, like
Production's always great with Blizzard.
there's a good production value to it.
Well, the card game itself was good. It was developed by some of the lead designers from Magic. Like, it was a solid card game, so I would imagine that if they ported it well, it would definitely be fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a dumbed down version of it. Like, it's much more simplified, streamlined. The games take maybe 20 minutes tops.
Yeah, but that seems about right for a game like
Right.
that.
I mean, it does have the similar aspects to the things that I liked in the card game, and I was actually really sad when I heard that the card game ended, but then I realized why the license ended and all that stuff. So,
It's much
but I mean,
easier to
overall,
print digital cards than it is physical cards.
I tell you what, if you're into card games, it's free, and it's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, it's for sure something I'm going to check out.
All right. Anyone else have anything kind of come across their desk?
Yeah, the cosplayer that pulled a Zelda sword, stabbed some dude.
So I heard that in passing. Like, was this just like a crazy person? What actually ended up happening with
It
it?
was apparently during a domestic dispute over a woman.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, one of the men he wielded a sword, the Legend of Zelda sword, which is pretty interesting.
Now, was he like an avid Zelda fan? Like, because you always hear, like, man, Rob's bank was samurai sword. Like, was it just the closest thing that he just had a samurai sword in his desk? Or, like, was you
Was
like,
his
raw
name
for
Link?
Hyrule, and then
Was
ran the guy through?
other guy,
Um,
Dark Link,
No, he
was the girl
okay.
Zelda.
Apparently he had a sword and he was throwing flower pots as well, which I think is
Okay.
also fairly interesting.
That's pretty
Sure.
good.
Yeah, if you're
Um,
breaking ceramic pots, that seems about, you're
Yeah.
getting into character.
Yeah, definitely.
So he killed a man.
He didn't kill him.
Well, that's
How do you not kill him with the sword of time?
He hit him with it. He definitely whacked him with it.
Oh,
But
I feel like
don't
those things
believe
shatter, too. I feel like you're not going to get a good...
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was very very interesting that this replica is actually used as a weapon for the first time in history. I mean, when do you hear about
recorded
that?
history, yeah.
Yeah, like you just don't hear about things like this.
I feel like I've heard people brandishing swords in crimes more often than I should have, though. Like,
was
every
the-
couple of years.
Right, like katanas, like stuff like that. Like a Legend of Zelda sword.
Yeah, that's a good
or-
point.
Like no one is gonna take. What the heck's that Final Fantasy sword? Cloud's Blade.
The
or
Mega
whatever.
Buster.
Buster sword.
Buster sword.
Yeah, nobody's gonna hit somebody with a Buster sword. Like
Well,
you just
nobody could pick it up.
Yeah, I guess that's
Unrealistic.
probably true.
Unrealistic sword.
Doesn't
Yeah.
Fister have one?
Nope, it's mine now.
Okay. So
All
you
right.
have one.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
look,
Well,
was the woman dressed as Zelda? Because I feel like
No.
that's the only.
No,
The only way you could use this sword.
Was he
And-
eating chickens?
Was
It
he
was
fighting Ganondorf?
no, it was
Just
a
really-
domestic dispute. He apparently he is dating this woman, and her estranged husband like stormed their apartment, and this kid just grabbed his
First
Zelda
thing he
sword and
grabbed.
decided to defend his home.
Recipe for disaster.
He went. Just imagine that, like the narration of that. He picks up his sword once again. This time, not for fun, but for protection. In a world where a man comes to your door to find his ex-wife. I don't know. It's just fun. It's a fun story.
I
Yeah.
like it.
I feel like this could be the plot to a modern day Zelda.
It could
Oh, I'm
be.
sure someone's already writing a screenplay right now. I'm sure that is happening. Yeah, I guess there's a couple other things in the news. Nintendo launched an indie shop, which isn't super kind of groundbreaking in itself. I just think it's kind of part of a larger trend. Nintendo, who's always late to the party for just about everything, is
And
starting
not
to focus.
fashionably late.
Not fashionably late, just late. Just kind of launching a focus and a campaign around kind of smaller independent titles. And kind of this goes back to a conversation we were having before about, smaller priced games and smaller scale games. You're seeing a lot in PS3, PS4 had a very large emphasis on kind of their indie support. Xbox kind of jumped on that bandwagon as they were kind of playing catch up during the last E3. And it's just a nice trend to see. And then for a company like Nintendo, who, traditionally doesn't really focus on anything unless it has, a Zelda or a Mario or a fucking Year Luigi on it. It's nice to see that everyone's kind of jumping on board and kind of supporting some smaller developers. One of the featured games.
Well, they need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way things are going. But there's a lot of great stuff that you can get on the DS. Probably most recently, games like SteamWorld Dig is a really, really great game for the DS, and was just a handful of guys and girls kind of putting that together. So yeah, other than that, Shaq Fu is on Indiegogo. They're trying to remake
Why?
Shaq Fu. I don't know, man.
Are they gonna make it good? Is that what they're trying to do?
I'm gonna say no. They're saying that it's gonna be good, and they've got Shaq on board, and they
All right, I will buy it if one of the costumes is I can be Kazam.
So here's the
Then
thing.
I'll buy it. But
Their goal
not before that.
it's on Indiegogo. Their goal is $450,000. Now I understand video games are expensive to make, but
yeah, but
Shaq Fu was such a giant hunk of shit.
All right, here's a question though. Did you play it?
What, Shaq Fu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I own it.
All right, Ryan, Blandy, did you play it?
of course I played it.
Joel, you play it?
Yeah.
I spent hours playing that stupid game.
Why?
But it's not good.
No, it's terrible.
It's
terrible.
a terrible game.
But it's a sequel that no one asked for. Now they're not doing great. They're at $73,000 of their $450,000 goal. I don't know,
How many days do they have left?
40. So they got plenty of time.
And now it's getting coverage, so it'll happen.
It probably will. I guess the only validity to this that I can see is, I'll be honest, I would love to see Shaq Fu at the next EVO as just kind of one of their side games. I want to see some people playing Shaq Fu on the live stream. And, maybe we'll all have egg on our face and this will turn out to be a great, great game. But I'm not giving them $25 in hopes that
No.
it will be. However, there is another Kickstarter out there, not for this to be Kickstarter News Hour, but Frog Fractions 2. I don't know if you guys have ever played the original Frog Fractions.
Is it like Number Munchers?
It is a Flash game. I don't know the URL, but do yourself a favor, Google Frog Fractions and play through it. It is a wonderful, wonderful, weird little game.
Will I have to do any math while I play this game? Are there fractions involved?
There are fractions involved, yes.
Oh.
There are frogs involved. I don't want to explain too much. It is a game
Well, you
that-
better.
So wait, you're afraid of spoiling a game
called Frog Fractions.
Hey,
called
Flash
Frog
game.
Fractions?
You're just gonna have to trust me on this one. It is worth trying. And then go on Frog Fractions 2 and support their Kickstarter, because whatever these guys and girl, I think there's one girl on the team, make next is going to be, even if it's half as wonderful as the first one, they deserve your money. That one is only $60,000. They're about halfway there with about 30 days to go. So yeah, if you haven't played Frog Fractions, check it out. If you like the first game, hop on their Kickstarter and support their new one.
And if you have no idea what it is, apparently, do yourself a favor.
You really do. It is up there with, well, I think it's better than the Bubsy 3D remake, or Proud Bottom Teaches Typing is another good Flash game out there. If you like the typing tutors, I would say Proud Bottom Teaches Typing is a great game.
What the hell are you talking about?
They're just
Ryan,
these...
like your favorite game, Typing of the Dead, back in the day.
I actually just recently repurchased
Yeah,
Typing
he
of the
did.
Dead.
That's actually I do remember that now.
It is...
You ever find that keyboard?
I did. I found one at my local game store for, I think I paid like $15, which isn't terrible for a Dreamcast controller. But yeah, Typing of the Dead was a great game.
Oh my god. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
They're just fun little silly Flash games. Like these, going back to the indie game conversation, like they're games that aren't deep. They're games that aren't, super complex. There's something that you can kill a half hour and not regret it.
I have a feeling I'm gonna shove this into the puzzle game realm.
No, neither of them are puzzle games.
Yeah, but I don't know. If it's like these typing master games.
Okay, so Proud Bottom is just silly and weird, and the typing is fun. So Proud Bottom, look into it if you're interested in a funny game. Frog Fractions is a force to be reckoned with.
All right, buddy.
And on that note, I suppose we can conclude today's podcast.
Oh, one more thing though.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they did announce yesterday that they're making a Costume Quest 2.
Oh, yeah!
Woo!
Yeah! I guess this is the announcement hour.
We did it!
I never played the first one.
The first one's really good.
never
It's
played the
really
first one
charming.
either.
It's an RPG, but the characters, it's a Double Fine game, so the writing is fantastic. Everything's fucking adorable, and you want to reach through the screen and pinch everything's cheek.
That sounds a little creepy.
It's do you play
Full RPG.
yeah, it almost reminds me of like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like, it is just delightful and happy and fun, and they're good games, and you can get them super cheap nowadays. If you like RPGs.
See, that I'm more interested in than Frog Fractions. I gotta
Man,
say.
give Frog Fractions a try. Play Portal 2, but give Frog Fractions a shot.
I will go as far as to go to YouTube and see if Tuluscus has played it and watch him play it a little bit.
You can watch a Let's Play of Frog Fractions. That's fine. It's the discovery is half of the joy, but if you want to watch someone else play it, that is perfectly acceptable. You might want to pause it once you get to a certain point and go and play it yourself, though. Just saying.
It's possible.
It's possible. Anything is possible with the power of video games.
Well, I mean,
it
Yeah,
is free, right?
It's free.
So,
It's a free
so what?
little Flash
Fun.
game.
like, why would I really
Ask in a half hour of your life, and I don't think you'll be disappointed.
I mean, anything is possible. Like the Oculus making sitting in school exciting, apparently.
Yeah, man. Dolphin High School or whatever.
Taking a
it's called.
quiz. Hey, let's do all the things I hated in high school, but it's okay because it's in 3D.
We're
Oh,
hilarious and
that
fun,
was,
lovable
That was in
dolphins.
3D too.
Yeah. Yeah. All
You're
right,
also
guys.
a dolphin, which is cool.
Well, that concludes yet another episode of the Pixel Ship Podcast. You can visit us at pixelship.net for reviews, these podcasts, and some other content as we get it up. We're on Twitter and Facebook, which I have neglected to update for the past couple of weeks, so I apologize if you're actually looking at those. But I will definitely get on that. And we will talk to you everyone next week. And again, I've been Ryan with Joel,
See ya.
Ryan,
You're welcome.
and our special guest Neil.
Salutations.
All right, have a good week, everybody.